And we're live now. All right, we're live. All right.
Hello, hello.
How's it going, everybody? Let me get you the link real quick so we can shoot, so you can shoot that out to people. So yeah, I'm not doing any intro music right now. For those of you listening later, just because we were having all sorts of problems with settings, so I didn't want to
We got
mess with
Liam
that.
Luck coming in. We're in full, Liam Luck right now.
Yep.
It's like everything's gone wrong.
But that's okay. We'll be on my channel where all the audio is terrible, just absolutely ass, complete garbage.
Yeah.
Just absolute garbage. All right, let me shoot you the
We'll
link.
we'll sacrifice one disaster for another. It'll be all right. It'll be okay.
So StreamYard was trying to tell you that that you couldn't stream anymore this month.
Yeah, it was like, you've streamed too much, Liam. And I'm like, never, don't stream. And it's like, fuck you. And I was like, okay, all right, I'm sorry.
You know, it used to be simple to stream on YouTube, but it's not anymore. Not anymore.
Now they want to shake you down. They want to extort you for all you got.
Like, it wasn't bad enough when Susan was taking 30% of your super chats.
Yeah, well, I mean, I wasn't exactly thrilled about it, but what are you supposed to do?
God doesn't even ask for 30%, but
yeah, that's right. I didn't even think about it. You know what I mean? Like, oh my God, God only has the tenacity to ask 10%, right? Like, but
you got to be over 100
anyway.
to at least last I was monetized. You had to be over 100 to cash out. Which,
yeah.
I mean, I don't always make 100 in a month. Like,
yeah, it just sits there and builds up and builds up. It's true. It's true.
I think when they demonetized me, I had like $30 in there that I guess I could go on my account probably and visit my $30, but I can't.
You could probably visit your $30 like an old folks home.
Yeah,
you know
I could go. I could go say hi to my $30, but
you can't have that $30. It's their $30 until you work harder. Chris, you gotta.
That happened years and years ago. I was at some job where I forgot to get direct deposit set up in time, and my first check, they stuck it in some bank account with. It wasn't Walmart Bank, but it was like the bank that's at Walmart. And it just set up an account and stuck my check in there instead of waiting or something. And it turned out I couldn't pull all my money out. There was like $1 and some change left over. Somehow it ended up being to where that's just trapped in that account forever. And I used to joke I could go to that ATM and visit my $1.87, but I can't actually have it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know, I mean, that's you know, that's the price of doing business. You know, that's unfortunately just the nature of the beast. You know.
So Liam, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit
what you
before we
got,
start
man.
talking all sorts of comics, right?
Sure.
All right. So
Yeah.
I wanted to give Cyberfrog a shot, right? And
Yeah.
so I was like, I couldn't figure out how to buy Cyberfrog. Is what it boils down to.
Mm-hmm.
I could kickstart the next Cyberfrog thing apparently, or I could go to an eBay account on EVS's site where I could buy $30 variant covers. But if I just wanted to start reading Cyberfrog, get the first issue or get a trade, apparently that can't be done. So for your projects, is it possible to actually just start reading something without having kickstarted it 3 years ago, or buying $30 variants on eBay?
You know what? It's not, and it's worse than that you've got with Ethan. Because if you go over and try and buy my books, they're like $100 to $120 right now. I've like got the highest markup of my books besides John Malin, because I've got small runs and you know, like they sell out. But I'm working on that. You know, like it just and there's some exciting news that I can't talk about right now. I'll get myself in trouble if I talk too soon. But there is some exciting stuff happening where a lot of these books are going to be available, you know, to a wider market very soon at more affordable prices. You know, I would imagine, you know, for those that can't afford to invest in a, you know, premium, high quality, you know, pristine,
Because
book. The one
one
I
of
just
the
want to get a
complaints I've
generic.
heard from Comicsgate is talking about, oh, the direct market's so terrible, and it's so hard
Mhm.
for people to get into comics because they have to go find a comic store. And I'm like, that's a lot easier than navigating Indiegogos and eBay pages with $30 variant covers. Like, I mean, I understand some people don't
That's
have a comic book store close to them, but if you do,
mhm.
walking in and purchasing a product is a little easier.
Oh man, I would do anything to be able to walk into a store and well, not anything, I mean, like I still have
Anything.
my,
You heard him, chat.
my
You heard him.
and I,
He's
I
on all
won't get down on my
fours when he
knees.
said that.
But yeah, no, I would love to be able to get in there and get a comic book, and I agree. These books should be more readily available in some way for people that also want to jump on and give it a shot. Um, Definitely, and I think that that's the next stage of what's going to be going on in 2025.
I mean, it's been a
That we're heading
criticism of
for.
Comicsgate, and I think it's more true for some people that this is a
And
speculator bubble.
I think it's a very fair
This is early
criticism.
'90s
Like,
image with culture war bullshit added to it,
yeah.
and I
And I think it's a fair criticism. I mean, like I should have stuff available. Here I am. I'm reeling to get my next book out. I've got my 2024 annual that I want to get out. Before the end of the year. So I've got like a few days. But it's like because Diner King sold out. Like Diner King didn't just sell out. Diner King, I expected it to do like 300 copies at most. You know what I mean? And it sold out of everything. And then everyone that bought Diner King bought every single other book I have. So I have zero stock of anything left. Just everything is cleared out. And I was like, oh man, that means I've got to go back to print on everything. And so like, but I'm working on it. I want to get something that's going to be more readily available. I want to get like a store up and running for people, and there is stuff going on right now. Again, I don't want to talk out of school, but there is stuff going on right now where you will be able to just walk into a store, hopefully, and pick up a book. And it's about time. I say. I think this is
well,
going
even
to be
if
a
you're
good
not in
year.
physical stores, it just feels like once something's been around for a while, it should be as simple as you've got a couple story arcs under your thing. It should be for the most part as simple
Mhm.
as I go to your site, I click buy it now, and I check out with my
Yep.
PayPal and I mean it's not,
Yeah.
and I understand again stuff sells out, it's indie stuff, but like it just feels like that's not even a concern with some of the comics geek guys. Oddly enough, I've seen Isom trade paperback in the wild at a comic book store, which floored
Yeah.
me. I actually asked the guy, it's my local one. I was like, what did you get? He goes, oh, I heard there's a lot of hype about it online. It's pretty bad though.
Yeah.
But
So
but also, I mean, you don't have Glenn Beck money helping push you around.
that's
So
right. I don't. Daddy Glenn said, came to me and said, Liam, you said anything, and I said, I won't get on my knees, Daddy. I was misrepresented. That's not what I meant, Daddy Glenn. And he left, and so I've had to do it the hard way.
but yeah,
Had to
I've
do
been
it the
looking at
hard way.
Cyberfrog and I've been like, hey, that looks cool. I'd like to be able to buy it one day. Like
Yeah, and
like
that's the thing. Ethan and I haven't always gotten along. We've had our disagreements, you know what I mean? We've butted heads over stuff. There's been a lot of misunderstanding, but he's helped me out pretty recently and I appreciate it. And I always say this to anyone who's sort of out of the loop. I will say like the work he's doing on his Cyberfrog work is the best work of his life. Like it is very much if you go and you look at like the quality of the artwork that he's producing, and especially in some of these newer books, it's like completely off the charts. I couldn't reach it if I spent like a month trying, like it's just really good stuff. um and I think that it's interesting, like you kind of break it down and it's sort of his sort of an allegory in a way for uh the way the world changed culturally and him as an artist and the comic book industry. And the Vespers are symbolic of the waspy nature of that sort of came into the world that he knew and took it over and changed modern comics. And it's also just got a kick-ass robot frog just kicking butt, so it's like it's got that TMNT energy in it. But it's interesting to sort of look at it as a sort of as a piece. It's sort of got a little bit of Walking Dead in it. It's got like human interactions and sort of their struggles to survive, and it's interesting. I want to see more. Like the one thing I want to see more of is I just personally I just want to see, like, is there a Vespus queen? Like, is there, like, are the Vespus literally all just wasps and different? We're starting to see different kinds of wasps here and there, but it's like these are sentient alien species, and I want to know more about it. But right now, it's very much just sort of the remnants of Ethan's '90s comics universe, which is all McFarlane and stuff inspired, and it's 20 years later and it's struggling to survive an apocalypse, so you got like villains that have teamed up with the wasps, and heroes that are just sort of re-emerging into the world, and other guys that have had to survive and make compromises. It's been interesting. It's been interesting.
Yeah, I've been interested in checking it out, but again,
Yeah,
I don't
you
I
need
don't
to
like.
jump on point.
Yeah, like where do
Yeah,
I buy issue one? You know what I mean? For
yeah.
for less than the cost of like 8 meals out. Like,
Yeah, I'll bring that up to him. I think that's a legitimate thing, and as I said, I think that we'll have that
I
tackled
believe
by the
he's
end of.
6 issues deep, and to me, it just seems like you should have a trade paperback out, not a deluxe indie go hardcover, but just like, hey, here's the trade paperback for $20, $30, $40 even. You know what I mean? But that's it. That's and to their credit, I mean, and I don't like Eric July, but and he has more people with money and power pushing him. But he's got his dumb Isom stuff out in trade. Are you still there? Did we lose you? Oh, I think we might have lost Liam, guys. We might have lost him. Oh no, I think we lost him, guys. But he has terrible internet because he lives in Australia, where everything's upside down, and he lives in rural Australia too. So a kangaroo might have chewed through his Ethernet cord. Koala bear chewing through it. Up, up. I think he's back. Is he back?
I'm back. This is
Okay.
what's gonna happen. This is my life. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm
I
sorry.
thought maybe a koala bear chewed through your Ethernet cord.
Yeah. I don't know if there's I don't know if there's like a disconnect sound or anything like that with Discord. So if I just don't respond,
Yeah,
I'm
I
coming
thought we might
back.
have lost you, but it's all right.
Yeah.
So
So,
Ethan, you've
but
been
yeah.
going through the new comics for the week. So what'd you think for this week?
Well, okay. Gosh, I, I should be more prepared than this. Hold on. I guess the main thing is I buckled down to what you said, and I read Absolute Superman.
Mm-hmm.
I read a few other things, and I had nothing of real, like, there's nothing to really say about them. But I read that Absolute Superman, and I thought that was interesting. Like, um, I got a couple of pages in, and I'm like, why is he saying chuffed? Why is he saying chuffed? Is this like a bad editorial? What's going on here? He's meant to be saying cuffed, but then like they addressed it, and I thought,
Yeah,
oh, okay,
he
so
does he's
he's
still
not.
learning
Yeah,
English. He's still learning
he's
the
still
language.
learning English and stuff. Yeah, I thought, okay, that's interesting. That was interesting
I like their
because I.
vision of Krypton as this sort of really stagnant bureaucratic world that
Mhm.
is just eating itself. Um,
Yeah, I like the fact that his cape is sort of nanotechnology. I think that's kind of cool. Um, I don't like the fact that the cape is also the spaceship. I think that it's kind of cooler that the spaceship is its own thing, but
I think more
you
his
know,
armor in general is the spaceship.
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah, exactly.
I've liked the Absolute book so far. I've been reading both all three of them, Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman, and I've enjoyed them so far for the alternate takes they
hmm
are. Um,
I haven't checked out Absolute Batman, but I can tell you that you're not wrong. I mean, if we look at the books that are most popular this month, interestingly, our top five, we've got this month is Invincible issue 144, Absolute Superman issue 2, and in second place. In third place, we have Batman issue 155. In fourth place, we have Absolute Batman #2. And in fifth place, which is, call me a nerd, but I'm happy to see that #5 is held by the fastest creature alive, Sonic the Hedgehog, issue 74.
I didn't realize that IDW Sonic was doing that well.
It's #5 in the rankings.
I know it's one of their major. It's one. I mean, IDW's lost quite a few licenses in the last few years, and basically, like Turtles is one of the big tent poles for them. Sonic is making them some money. The Trek books are making them some good money. They have a Godzilla license, but they haven't really been doing that much with it. They're planning to next year. Looks like they got big plans for next year. But they haven't.
I'm a bit worried that they're gonna eat my lunch, because they're talking about how they want to have Godzilla be able to have more interactions and talk with people, which I don't think is a great idea. But they said that they're essentially going to be introducing human kaiju hybrids. So I think they're going to fucking steal my Dino King bit with people that turn into giant badass dinosaurs and shit.
Well, a couple of years ago, they did a big series that went on for, I think, 20 to 30 issues, something like that. And it was Godzilla Rulers of the Earth. And, I mean, there was an overarching story, but one of the things they wanted to do in it was literally have every damn Toho kaiju they could. They even had, like, the American Godzilla as just Zilla in there. It was just every monster Toho had, they worked it into this universe. And that one's pretty fun. And there's been some other, like, there's been some goofy crossovers they've done with Godzilla, like Power Rangers and shit like that. Oddly enough, they don't have the MonsterVerse Godzilla rights. Of all things, there was a Justice League Godzilla Kong crossover last year that was not IDW at all, because it was the.
I would like to
MonsterVerse
read
stuff.
it. I saw glimpses of it, and I'm a big, Oh, 1 minute. Hold on.
Oh.
A new era for comics, first and greatest superhero, by Mark Waid and Clayton Henry.
Chat says, I read Absolute Superman recently as well, as it reminded me that there's still possible to create good Superman comics, even though it's a 100-year-old franchise. Damn near. And honestly, the regular Superman book's pretty good. The Superman books have been pretty solid for the past couple years.
Well, Superman's a solid story. It works. I mean, I know a lot of people think like, oh yeah, Superman, we've seen it before. It's like, but if you just stop telling the origin, I mean, yeah, and even that, you can still even tell the origin, and we see that here in Absolute Superman with, like, they've given him a new take on things. They've made him sort of slightly darker, but he's still like a noble character. I loved the fact that he gets handcuffed to Lois, and it's like, hey, if he just flies away, he'll just rip her into pieces. You know what I mean? Like, he could just tear her arm out of the socket and shit, but like, he's considering her. He's considering.
Yeah, and she's trying to arrest him at this point.
She's got a gun pointed at him the whole fucking time.
He's being considerate of the well-being of his enemies. Like, that's the moral, upstanding nature of him. I always use these two examples because they're kind of polar opposites, but I always like to say that, like, if you hate Superman as a character, then you're probably a cynical dickhead. And if you hate the Punisher as a character, because you go on about he's fascist and problematic and all this other stuff, you're probably a big wet pussy. So, like, because those are two takes I hear all the time. I hear a bunch of, especially lefties, be like, oh, and I get it, Punisher is kind of one-man right-wing death squad. But, like, oh, he's problematic and all this other stuff. And then I hear other guys like, Superman's boring, and it's just, I'm like, nah, man. Like, not at all.
It's not. It works. It's like, he is an idea that has worked for over 100 years, and I mean, like, that's the thing, like, this is something iconic. It's like, I had someone say to me the other day, it's like, oh, I don't like Superman because he's so overpowered and all of this. And I'm like, he has to be, because if he's just a guy that gets beaten down, then he's not a symbol of hope.
But, like,
he's not
even
someone
that.
who can,
I mean, there are no shortage of both heroes and villains that can rival and even eclipse his power. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like,
Yeah,
I mean, just in physical strength, there's characters like Doomsday or Mongol or Zod that rival his
there are
power. You know?
aliens that are born under a purple sun on a Tuesday, and they just are naturally stronger sometimes.
You
You know,
know?
like it's there are Cthulhu alien gods from the depths of space that just show up because he's got a monster of the week thing to him as well sometimes.
I mean, I would argue if
Like
they
you can
wanted
do,
to, Barry Allen and Hal Jordan could fuck them up together pretty easily. Like,
yeah. And everyone's like, "Oh, the only person that can beat Superman is Batman," and I'm like, "Hey, don't be fucking stupid. Have you read comics? Like, I know that that's the big one. Oh, it's Superman versus Batman, but that's just those guys are the most popular. Like, there are plenty of heroes that can challenge Superman, and there are plenty of great Superman stories as well. Because admittedly, you strip him of everything, he's not as much, he's not as compelling. But like we see, even in stories like with the Justice League cartoon, Justice League Unlimited cartoon, where he has his power stripped of him. You know, you remember he's got to fight the wolves, and he's like becomes their friend and sort of tames the wild world. He's got no powers in that world. That's a great fucking story. It's great, and it's great because of who and what Superman is and what he represents. It's just I love it. And I was a Marvel guy growing up, but I've really come to appreciate what Superman represents.
yeah, I was always more of a Marvel guy for most of the time I was reading, but I was always like, I always loved the Justice League, and I always had a soft spot for DC in general. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Yeah.
So
And it's exciting to see this re-envisioning of absolute Superman over here with this is Dark Side Superman, I suppose, if he ruled the world.
yeah,
Um,
I
and
did
it
the
seems like
actual
they've
universe.
used
I
that to
think
sort of modernize and sort of make Superman cooler and hipper. I can see elements of a of anime heavily rooted in all of these books. I feel like it's a little bit of a mistake for DC to be trying so hard to chase anime. Um, but I don't know if it's just because they've got Brazilian artists and they're just sort of using sort of models in a lot of this stuff for doing basic drawovers, or
yeah.
if
The
it's an active attempt to try and catch that young reader base with
Well,
an art
DC's
style
been
that
doing a
everyone's.
lot of stuff to try and get there. Like they put out their compact comics line, which are generally priced at about $10, and you're looking at a big ass story arc of stuff. And I mean, it's not the optimal way to read something, but it's pretty damn good. I mean, you're getting full color, like you got like all of All Star Superman, for example, or all of that Gotham City Sirens series, or um, I think they did the first two volumes of Wonder Woman Earth One. They stuck them in one of them. They did Batman Hush. They've done a bunch of The Watchmen, a bunch of definitive stories that they want to put out there. And I mean, I see them at Target.
Yeah.
I see them at major bookstores all over the place. Again, they're very cheap. Um, I mean, they're priced the same as a manga, and they're in color.
Mhm.
Because you can get away with that with your older stuff. You know what I mean? You could,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
and then they're also putting out a bunch of reprints of some prominent first issues for $1.25 and putting big displays at
Yeah, in the
Dollar
dollar
Tree right
store,
now.
which I wanted to see if you could go down and take a look at that if there's one nearby you, and let me know what they've sort of got and what's going on with it. Because from the news report that I sort of covered last week, they said that they were going to be releasing another wave of new books, of new number ones in a year, and there was no mention of a number two. And unfortunately, we live in the modern era of comic books. Dare we call it the Iron Age? That's what everyone's calling it, even though that was the Dark Age of comics. But anyway, our modern age, whatever fucking color of the rainbow we are this week, the chromatic era of comics. Um, and it's like all of these things are written for trades. all of these
lot of
number
them are,
ones are
yeah.
written to be published as trades.
And look,
So
that's
we're getting
part of the idea
interesting
there.
stories.
They're giving you a comic
Yeah,
for 125 because they're hoping you're gonna. Now, some of those number ones, a lot of them are from the rebirth time around 2017, right
yeah, but yeah,
when they
exactly. But
kind of
this is what
shook
I'm
off the
saying, man.
last
It's
of
like,
New 52, and a lot of those are surprisingly standalone issues. Like, yeah, there's lead-ins
okay,
to the next issues, but you'd be surprised how much of the rebirth stuff is almost
oh,
like
good.
Justice League around that
Okay,
time
cool.
is usually a pretty one issue is usually a pretty standalone thing. That said, though, yeah,
Oh, good. Because
they
I was
want you
thinking,
to
like,
get hooked and
what's the
buy a trade,
strategy? Yeah,
and I get
well,
that.
like, so that's what it is. It's to get you hooked to buy the trade, right? Because like we'll have to see. Like I'll have to like if you could just grab a copy any for one, just I'll send you a couple of bucks,
I mean,
just so we can see
that's what the whole free
how they've
comic book
reprinted
day
them.
thing is in May. I mean, let's be real. Most of the
Mhm.
free comic books that have
Yeah.
been put out over the years, I remember in like '03 or '04, they put out a reprint of Superman Batman #1, and at the end of it, it's like, you want to see more? Go get the trade. And it's like, well,
Mhm.
they gave it to me for free, so can you complain? And a lot of the stuff that's not reprints, it's like whatever the big event is for the summer, this is just a prelude to it. You know what I mean? A little, and yeah,
Yeah.
it's like,
Well,
hey,
I mean,
go read Blood
I
Hunt this
think that
summer. Like,
yeah, and I would like to see if that's what they've got in these things because, like, we thought they were straight reprints, right? And we are sort of looking at them, and then we realized, oh wait, they don't have any of the prices on them or anything. So we thought they were just reissues, But
so
they're full on reprints,
they
right?
still have the I haven't taken a look, so I think one of the tellers would be the ads maybe, but they still have the original price on it, $3.99 or $2.99. And then
Oh, do they? Because
there's a
the
price
photos that
sticker
they released,
over it
that
from what I've seen. But I think part of that might even just
ah,
be like they don't even bother changing shit in a reprint, or it could just be some
well, no,
back
that's
stock
very
that they
interesting.
had.
If
For
you
all
could confirm that for me,
for all I
that'd be
know, that
really interesting
they
to
were
see.
digging through a warehouse and they opened a couple of crates and said, "Oh shit, we
Exactly,
forgot we
and
had this."
well, yeah, no, that would be very interesting because we looked, and if there's just a sticker over it, I'd like to know. If they've got new ads or if they're advertising trade in the back, I'd like to know. I don't even have the option to buy them though.
By the
But we were
way,
looking at it on King and we were trying to figure it out. Like,
Something Marvel and
were
DC have
they?
been doing for a couple years now that I adore is they're putting out
Mhm,
facsimile editions of like certain key issues, and
mhm.
what makes these are not just reprints; these are reprints that include all the original ads. Like
Yeah, that's
literally, the
great.
only way you could tell the difference is there's a fucking different price on the front of it. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
those are rad. They've actually over this. They're not quite done yet, but over the past year, Marvel and DC have been doing Secret Wars and Crisis on Infinite Earths, respectively,
Mhm.
in their facsimile editions, and they've put out a lot of other stuff. I just on a whim the one week I picked up like Batman Beyond #1 facsimile edition, and I'm seeing all these ads from 1999 taking me back. I'm
Oh, that's
seeing the
awesome.
one page.
My,
Remember
my
when you could
wife.
tear a page out or photocopy it if you're not a maniac and vote in the
Yeah,
Wizard
yeah,
Awards and mail it in?
yeah.
They had that for the 1999 Wizard Awards in it. I'm like, oh shit, that takes me back.
I need to duck for 5 seconds. I'll be right back.
No
I'm
problem.
sorry. Keep going. You're right. I'll be right back. Wife
All
need.
right. Chat here. Let's see what chat's got going on. I don't know. I'm not getting no super chats, though, chat. I don't know what's up with that. Princess Rescuer Cube says, even when Beckloff is talking about things I'm not interested, I love when he talks about nerd stuff. His opinions are so interesting. Well, thank you very much. Somebody says, I haven't been to a comic shop since I was a teenager. You nerds are going to have me wanting to go browse a store to see what they have. That's worth going, man. I mean, you know, let me put it this way: if there's any like characters you're interested in, you saw a movie or something you liked it, or you used to read them, go to a comic book store and like look at the trades and see what they got, man. And Marvel and DC are putting out they're getting a lot of old stuff reprinted that had never really been in trades, shit from the '90s and stuff. So it's not a bad time to take a look. Let's see. Somebody says people focus too much on the Silver Age Superman stuff, where he had different powers each week and was very overpowered. Well, Silver Age DC in general is absolute fucking bananas. Silver Age DC, and Superman's the worst defender, but across the board is just written like an absolute madman doing this. Somebody said DC was smart doing the manga-sized books, certain story arcs from DC. Oh yeah, dude, those compact books are great. In fact, Marvel is apparently planning on doing a similar thing. But yeah, the compact books are fucking fantastic, man. I actually I picked up the All Star Superman one just because I didn't have that. I mean, I read it when it first came out, but I didn't have that in trade. And I picked up the Gotham City Sirens because that's another one I read when it first came out, but I didn't have it. Again, not the most optimal way to read stuff, but you know, if you're a nerd like me, yeah, maybe you want the deluxe fucking hardcover edition or something. But if you just want to read something, you know, it's not. And again, they're available everywhere. You find them at fucking Target and I think Walmart. Although I don't go into Walmart very much because Walmart sucks. But every bookstore, any comic book store will have them. You know, go on Amazon. It's a fucking click away. Like, if you have Amazon Prime, boom, there you go. You got it. It's yours. So it's not a bad time in the industry. It's really not. Like, yeah, there's a bunch of woke shit like there is in all of entertainment right now, but even that's going away. Like, that's on the way out the door, by the way. You all understand that, right? Like, for one thing,
well, I think that's what the election showed us with the popular vote, isn't
yeah,
it?
the winds are shifting for one thing, and for another thing, it was kind of a trend that was getting chased, and a lot of people are like, "Yeah, we're done with this." Like, yeah. it's working its way out the door. It really is.
I'll tell you what though, it is definitely, and I don't want to sound like one of those guys on and on and on about it, but it definitely is a form of brainwashing. Like I recently have had a conversation with a dear friend who I've known since she was 14 years old. You know, we're in the punk rock fan clubs together, packing books and you know, doing stuff with the bands. It was good times. We're like old friend, and she's now a professional, you know, psychologist. And I just touched base with her because I, you know, saw she was online. I was like, "Hey, how have you been?" You know, and within 2 minutes, it was just full Trump derangement syndrome, and I was just like, "Geez." I kept trying to change the subject from politics, and I couldn't do it. And I was like, "Man, this is someone who like I care about. It's like a family member almost, you know." And like there was just like she's leaving state and she's telling me that they're going to take away her birth control, and you know, then she was like going, "Oh yeah."
You know what floors me with
the
this?
thing
And
the
I don't
thing
want
that
to
sort
get
of kicked me in.
I don't want to get too sidetracked on politics. But what's floored me this whole time?
Yeah.
Trump is not very socially conservative at all. Like, even the abortion thing, he's like, it should be a state's thing, but I personally don't think it should be illegal. And like, you know, there's no anti-gay rhetoric in the official platform of the Republican Party right now. There's not. Whether you think there should be or not, there's not. There's the closest thing is a little bit of the anti-trans stuff where it's like, yeah, little kids shouldn't cut their dicks off. And I think that's pretty reasonable. Yeah. I don't think that's an extreme position.
I think so too. I mean, and it's
and
rough,
these people are acting like Rick Santorum from like circa 2005 is running. You know what I mean? Like
she straight up told me he's a rapist. The president is a rapist.
Well, you know, if you have information on that, you should stop gossiping and go right to the authorities.
I looked it up. And this is where I was trying. After this, I thought I can't talk about this, so I have to just ignore whenever she brings it up because, like, oh, awesome, Spidey vs. Vash.
But by the way, speaking of rapists, you should ask her if she knows what Biden did with his daughter in the shower.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I looked it up, and it's like, no, it was all false. It's all false all over the thing, all the stuff she's saying. So I sent her a link to the Snopes showing that it was false. And she just kept on and on about it. And I was just like, oh, man, like, can we not be friends anymore? Like after everything we've been through.
I don't understand it.
I've been telling her, she's been married to a husband for like, you know, for years. And I've been telling her to have kids. Like, you know, she's going to end up old and alone. And like, you know, she should have kids. She'll be a good mom. And she's all like, oh, no. And now she's complaining about birth control. And she straight up said to me, oh, if I wanted to have children, I couldn't because the doctors won't operate and all of this and all that. People are dying. I'm like, I thought, And I've been trying to get you to have kids
You
for
know,
fucking 10 years. And now you want to have kids and you're saying that you just can't do it because of Trump. And I'm like, this doesn't check. This doesn't make, this is not
all
logical. And she's a smart broad. She's a smart broad. So, like, what has this media done to these people that are otherwise sane, rational, reasonable, loving
all
people?
overturning Roe did was put it back to the states. Now, the
Yeah.
Democrats controlled the presidency in the House, and they could have passed an abortion law if they wanted to. Like Roe wasn't saying there can't, like overturning Roe wasn't even saying there can't be a federal abortion law. It said there is none, so this reverts back to the states. And
Yeah.
then they didn't do that because they wanted to dangle it in front of their base. It being reverted back to the
Yeah.
states, the pro life movement has not had even a lot of victories at the state level. They've kind of found themselves realizing they didn't have quite the support they thought they did, and a lot of them are trying to regroup and figure that shit out. So I don't understand the pro choice people being in such a fucking panic. You're doing pretty fucking well right now. Like
Yeah.
maybe if you live in fucking Alabama or Kentucky or something, but I'll tell you, maybe you don't live there. All right.
Yeah. Move. You're in a free country.
I
Move.
wouldn't particularly want to live there either. Like,
But anyway, sorry for harping on about that, but it's just something that, like, I just thought, like, wow, this has got to be so much worse for the Americans who live there, who this is happening with their family members and stuff like that, where it's like this irrational divide where, like, we should all be getting along, and you can't even just talk
I
about
will
how your
say
day
though,
was
it's
without worrying
not
about
really as
politics.
bad as a lot of people. Like when you're out in the wild,
Okay.
you know what I mean. Like let me put it this way: there's a lot of comic shops within driving distance of me. You know what I mean? Like yeah, the ones in my county are
Mhm.
like 30 minutes away. Like everything is 30 minutes away from me. But if I on an afternoon that I have off decide, hey, I want to run out within like 2 hours tops, there's probably like 15. You know what I mean? Because I'm just in an area where I'm not too far from Philly. I'm not too far from Baltimore. You know what I mean? I'm not too far from Delaware. I'm in the middle of nowhere, but I'm not too far from anything. Anyways, there's a comic shop in Delaware, and it's just called the Comic Shop. And this place is run by one of the biggest fucking lefties you can imagine. I mean, they got a fucking paused LGBTQ elemental P plus sign fucking section of comics. You know what I mean? Like, this is
Mhm.
one of the biggest lefties you could fucking imagine. And you know what? I've been in there with fucking Trump hats before, and she never even sneered. You know what I mean? She never, like, whatever. Buy some comics, give me your money, move on. Like, most people aren't deranged about shit.
Mhm.
Or
Well,
just
that's
don't,
good to hear. That's
most
good to
people
hear.
aren't fucking crazy. All right? Most people are like, you know, they argue and whatever, fuck you. But, we're Americans. We always do that. You know what I mean? Fuck you is our
Yeah.
national motto, and it always has been. Um,
Yeah.
but no, most people, it's not as,
Say,
it's
can you
not
say
that
fuck off?
fucking bad. It really isn't. Yeah, there's some people
Mhm.
that have made it their whole personality, and they're deranged and they're nuts. And there's no shortage of people like that on the right. There's more on the
Yeah, for
left.
sure. It's
There's more of
everywhere.
that on the
What
left, but
what's happening with this though? Where is this coming from? Because, like, this person that and again, I've known her since we were both 14, right? She wasn't a radical political person. That was never her thing. Like, so why the fuck is she now? Where's all of this coming from? Why does she give a
Trump
fuck?
has
Like, I
upset
mean,
the Trump's upset the establishment in a big way, and
yeah.
to some extent right wing too, and you see a lot of people that are freaking out about that, and um,
Mhm.
again, you could see a little bit of this on the right. I mean, I've seen a lot of like pro life people that have been really mad at Trump because he's not that particularly pro life, and because he kind of
Yeah.
gave them a shot at bat when Roe was overturned, and they sort of struck out in a big way, and some of them resent him for that. Um, so yeah, anytime there's this massive amount of change, people don't like change, and they get upset about that.
True. True.
Um,
But I'll tell you what, bringing it back to Superman before, I end up in my own grim, dark little world. That that panel on the bottom of page 14 where Superman's walking out of the fires of ruin, right? And he's got all of the civilians that he saved caught in his cape. You know, do you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
He's like holding them all up, and you got Lois carrying the child as they walk out of the fire. That's fucking amazing. You couldn't do that with classic Superman because he couldn't control his cape like Spawn, you know? So, and I haven't seen anything like this anywhere else. I think it's really great and inspiring to sort of see that. I think that was cool.
I
You
think
know?
it's definitely worth giving the Batman and the Wonder Woman a shot too. If you, um,
Yeah, I have given Wonder Woman a shot, but I haven't had a look at Batman. But I will definitely be doing it. I'll definitely give it, a go. I'm skimming through it as we sit here, actually, giving it a bit of a look.
but
It's
yeah, I
Batman
like
fighting
them
in
quite a
an
bit.
area.
I also like the first issue of the Question that they've done in the All In line. Um,
Okay,
it's
what's
Renee.
the? Tell me about.
Okay, so
Yeah,
it's
tell me about the
Renee because
question.
Vic's been dead since '52, and that's just
Okay.
been this. Renee is the current Question. She's like the Wally West of being Question.
Yeah.
After Vic died, she took on the mantle, and she's not bad. Like I prefer Vic, but she's fine. She's fine. She's never bothered me as a character. I know, I guess I'm supposed to think it's woke because she's a brown woman and she's bi and whatever, but fuck it, all women are bi. Uh, so just don't admit it. Um, but they bring her on because the Justice League in the main universe has decided we want to bring in everybody we can. Everybody that's willing to come up here, you got a spot. You know what I mean? We're gonna we are gonna have just an unstoppable army of super people. Next time Darkseid or somebody else rolls up, we're gonna push his shit in. The Earth is under our protection now. Yeah, and they bring her on because somebody's been trying to hack into the system of the Watchtower and all this other stuff. So they basically bring her on as like head of security, and like her initial task is get to the bottom of this, and it's pretty good so far. Um, like I said, I picked up issue one of it. I enjoyed it. I picked up Justice League Unlimited, which is the main Justice League book now. Good so far. And Superman's been really good. In the main, just regular Superman, not Action Comics, not that, just regular, non-adjective Superman is
Hmm.
pretty good so far. That's where Doomsday is the time trapper, like the future version of
Yeah.
Doomsday is the time. It's pretty good
You
so
know,
far.
I had some people complaining about that on social media. I had people going like, "Oh, you ruined Doomsday." I thought I disagree, and you can see me there in my wheelchair. See me there in that on that screen right now. The but but no, I thought that the that it was great having him be on like the cusp of divine evolution, like after hundreds and hundreds of deaths and re-evolutions, like, and then having to come to Superman. I felt that was fantastic as a storyline. It makes it's just it's good. It's like the last thing that you said to me about how, like, it's about the character who was sort of diminishing returns, wasn't he? But now we've got this new take on him that's a natural evolution that I think makes him fit into the Superman's rogue gallery a bit better. He's not just muscle.
Yeah, I like it. I like Dan Moore's art quite a bit. He's quite the super. He's probably the one superstar they have at DC. I mean, you could argue maybe they got Jim Lee, but that's an old timey guy
Mhm.
at this point. I mean, he's been around since we were kids, and we ain't particularly young. You know what I mean? And
Yeah, and he ain't doing much. He ain't. Is he even doing anything right
he
now?
did he did
Like,
alternate covers for both the Marvel versus DC and upcoming Amalgam omnibuses.
mhm.
He's doing, I think, starting in Batman 158, an official sequel to Hush, basically Hush 2. He's doing the art for that. He's returning with Jeff Loeb. That said, though, he doesn't do a ton. Um, and I mean, he's partially retired. He's made his money. He's a company man.
Yeah.
He's in that position where he's less a creator and more a mascot for DC.
Yeah, well,
Certain
he's
creators can
made
get
enough
to that
money that he can
position,
ask like, yeah, he's made enough money that he can ask for like what $30,000 or whatever for a commission, and people will pay it. Like,
I mean, like Stan Lee was in that position where he's not writing anything at Marvel. He's just Marvel's mascot. You know, Kevin
yeah,
Eastman is arguably that for Turtles these days. Like, I mean,
Hmm.
anything Nickelodeon puts out with Turtles, he's just there to tell you it's the greatest thing in the world while he's drawing alternate covers for every comic book they make. Like, it's funny. I mentioned this
Yeah.
last time we were talking about comics, but Eastman and Laird are such amazing polar opposites because, like, Kevin's kind of a sellout. Let's be real. It's a little uncharitable to say, but he sort of is. He's a company man. Let's put it that way. Whereas
Yeah.
Laird is a pretentious, up his own ass guy that will refuse to admit anything he didn't personally create is good. Like,
But he's like it was always the opposite way. It's like everyone loves Company Man, everyone hates grumpy old curmudgeon man. But even when he was young, he was a curmudgeon. But like,
but it's
but
funny.
he's a good
Any
guy.
Turtles thing that
He's a
comes
good guy.
out, Kevin Eastman loves it. Peter Laird hates it. Like, that's your
Yeah.
takes on it. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if it's good,
Well,
bad, or
I mean,
whatever.
that's great from a marketing sense too, isn't it? Because it's been you could say that the fandom's divided, but it also means that the fandom's always
Yeah,
got a
the
guy to cheer
creators are
for.
divided.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But it's like, everyone's got someone to cheer for, you know what I mean? It's like
But yeah,
yeah, I don't know, man.
Jim
I
Lee's
think
gone to that point where he's a company man for DC, and he's always been comfortable with that. He likes
yeah.
that. Um, but yeah, he doesn't do much. Dan Moore is the only real superstar artist they have, I think. Um,
Mhm.
where I mean, I hear people talking about him quite a bit. Like he literally sells books by his name alone. And it's weird
And I'm
because
just
man, in
grateful.
the
They're already up to 11 issues of Ultimate Spider-Man. I guess I got something to binge read, don't I?
I love Ultimate Spider-Man. Now, you know what?
11
It's for
issues.
the simple fact. Yeah, it's cool that he's with MJ. I like him having his hot redhead wife. Um, the kids are fine. I've never been big on the idea of Spider-Man having kids, but I don't mind it. It's, it's always kind of felt like to me you shouldn't be Spider-Man once you have kids. That kind of
Yeah.
to me
Yeah.
personally, that especially in the old days of Spider-Man before he was an Avenger and shit like that, like you know
Yeah.
if you die being Spider-Man, like first of all your wife's probably getting sued.
Yeah.
like and but and supervillains are coming to kill your kids, your wife, you know what I mean? But MJ knew what she
Yeah.
was signing up for. She knew this.
Mhm.
She knew this coming on board. These kids, they didn't have a choice in this matter. So it's
They
always
didn't have
seemed
a
like to
choice. Yeah,
me
exactly.
if
And
MJ, if MJ has a kid, you should probably hang up the webs.
wouldn't that be a great like 3-page conversation between Peter and MJ where, you know, they're about to have kids and they're just talking it through and they just Peter says they didn't have a choice, they didn't have a
Now
choice.
nowadays with
I've got to
him
hang up the web,
was him so cozied up to
you
the
know.
Avengers, you could argue like, hey man, if I bite it, like Tony Stark's going to give you a couple $1 million, and you and the kids can go live in Avengers Tower. You're probably going to be fine. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
the Fantastic Four will take care of
Yeah.
you or something. Like you'll be fine.
I
But
mean,
back,
that'd be a great comic to write. I'd love to write that comic though. I'd love to write like Peter wrestling with being a dad and being Spider-Man. Maybe just because I'm a dad now, but like I'd love to write that. I'd love to have like a villain like not Kane, but like a villain like Kane or like a character like Kane. Just start killing off the people that know who Peter's fucking secret identity is, and then like you have this little moment where MJ's like, is it Peter? Like, and Peter, it's not Peter. And Peter's like, no, I'm not Spider-Man. And it's like, well, what's going on with this? Who's doing this? Like, why are they targeting people that know who you are? Like, it'd be an interesting story, and I felt it was absolutely disgusting that, when in Renew Your Vows, is that it? Was it where he had the kid? Was it Renew Your Vows?
might have been one
I
more
think it
day.
was.
I think the daughter kind of
No, no,
showed
it's
up in one more day. I think.
yeah. No, no, no. It's after one more day. She's like, it's the same thing where MJ gets the suit and is sharing half his powers for a while.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I know what you're
But
talking.
anyway,
Renew your vows. Yeah, that's an alternate universe
yeah, it
kind
is.
of thing. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They had Renew Your Vows, and like his daughter starts manifesting spider powers, and he just takes her out and is all like, "Yeah, this is how you be Spider-Man," basically. I'm like, fuck, that's so not what Peter would do. Like,
It's
that
so
is
the
so not what your
opposite of what I
father would
remember
do.
in like Spider Girl, how he was like so dead set against her like doing that and all.
That's what an adult would do. He'd be like, no, like you're fucking 5 years old. I'm not gonna let you go out there and fight fucking alien parasites and
So
fucking
here's what the one
lunatics.
thing I did like with Renew Your Vows, and they kind of did a time jump with this, but like initially when she's kind of a little kid and her powers are starting to develop, like she's like just at the cusp of puberty, little kid, you know, like 10, 11.
Mhm.
Uh, he initially is like, okay, look, we got to do something about this, and I'm not just sending you out into the field. I mean, she kind of tagged along with him a little bit, but he actually sent her up to like the X mansion to like be fucking trained properly.
Yeah,
Like he was like,
yeah.
no, no, no. If
That's
you're gonna,
cool. That's
if you're gonna do
interesting.
this, you're gonna do it right. You know, like yeah, I didn't know what I was doing and I stumbled, but I want better for you. And
It would have been even better if he, instead of sending it to the X Mansion, he sent it somewhere else because of the X Mansion's track record.
but yeah, I mean,
But
you think maybe the Avengers,
yeah, no,
the Avengers Academy or something,
yeah,
but
yeah, yeah. He goes to enlist her. He goes to enlist her. He goes to enlist her in fucking in the X Mansion, and he sees when he's there, he like sees a photo of Jean on the wall, and he sees his little redheaded girl, and he looks at the photo of Jean on the wall, and then then he enlists her in the Avengers instead.
I would have liked to have seen like a little thing where it's like Professor X is like, well, you know, she's not actually a mutant, and he just looks at her and goes like, how many favors do you owe me? Yeah, okay,
Yeah,
take her in. I don't care. Just do it, do it.
yeah. You know she's not actually a mutant. What a
That's
bigoted fucking thing to say. Like,
yeah.
what a
Oh, I'm
fucking
sorry, Magneto. I guess I'll go else. That's what he should have said there.
yeah, exactly.
Okay, Eric, I'll go elsewhere.
Yeah.
Fucking asshole.
Fucking asshole, yeah. No, but I mean that's how it should be handled. I mean, like, I think that the School for Gifted Youngsters is a great idea. They do have a reputation for having the most child deaths of any superhero organization in comic books, but like, but I do think that that's the mature,
Well, look,
responsible
at
approach,
least
as
unlike
opposed
the
to what
public
we
school, no
call.
one's getting molested that we've heard of. So there's that. All right.
Unless, uh, unless you're I'll show you something off air that's
I mean,
funny.
we
I'll show you something
look.
off air
I
that's
mean, that we know of. Okay.
that we
There's
know
at
of,
least
yeah.
way less.
Mhm.
But no,
Yeah.
I like Ultimate Spider-Man quite a bit. I did enjoy Renew. Again, it's just the big thing that always bugged me with One More Day. It's not just we got rid of his hot redhead wife, although I don't like that. Um, but no, it's just we took the man out of Spider-Man and we made it Spider-Man Child, and it's
Yeah,
been that way since. And I just hate it. You know, like I tried to read
yeah,
the all new Venom where he's got like the gold spider on him and it's a new host and whatever. Like whatever, it's the number one. I'll give it a shot. And it's like, okay, we don't
okay.
know who the host is. And it's like MJ shows up with like that fucking Paul guy that she's with now or whatever. And I was like, you know what? I don't care. I don't care. I just stopped reading it. I was like, whatever. Fuck it. We're done. I don't no. I don't care. It's like this is I don't want this. Go away.
So it's MJ's cuck and Peter with some dude
Yeah,
called
there was some
Paul.
dude that she ended up in a pocket dimension with him for a couple years or something. I don't fucking know. I don't fuck. You know what?
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, yeah. I don't even want to talk about it. Modern
Yeah,
616 Spider-Man makes me sad.
yeah, yeah, for sure. And you're right.
The head of Marvel
and why
could message me right now and say, "Do you want to write Spider-Man?" And I'd be like, "Can I undo one more day?" And be like, "No." I'm like, "I'll go back to working at the box factory then. Fuck you." Like,
the
it's a big break that I need, and I still won't.
Mhm. Yeah, I'll tell you, man. I tell you, it's like the thing is like
You know, over in the
Spider
Superman
Man.
books right now, he's happily
It's like
married, and there's just a big
yeah,
Superman
yeah.
family thing going around, and everybody likes it.
I
And
know,
it's like,
and the theme and tone of the Spider books, right, is responsibility, right? Social responsibility, civic responsibility, family responsibility, the responsibility of power, the responsibility to act, the responsibility to sort of protect the things that you love and are precious to you, and You know, like these are the themes of Spider-Man books. And so to put a level of, like to make him a juvenile again, like to rewind him to 2 years of like a 2 year period where he was in college and pretend like that's the sum total of the character's fucking life is absolutely ridiculous. Like I said to I said to Dan Slott, I said on Twitter a while ago, like he was talking about the Spider marriage and stuff like that, and he's what how Spider-Man works and how it could never work. And I said to him,
It
I went,
worked
and I
for
looked it up, and
decades.
I was like, yeah, there's more issues where he is married and it was successful than there were where he
And
was
there's some of the
unmarried.
highest
And
selling issues when he was married.
yes, and the sales numbers are higher, exactly. If you statistically look at this, it is a lie. It is a blatant and flagrant lie that Spider-Man was better as a free-flying hip young dude. And now, if you want to do a Spider-Man as a hip flying free young dude, just use fucking what's his name? Spider Dude,
You use Miles if
well,
you have to. It'd be
yeah,
nice to
that
give him a
guy.
personality.
Yeah, he could even. You want to make him teenage Spider-Man? Do it. You can even have him tagging shit on walls and being like, like a high flying, hip guy. He can buy himself some Bitcoin and play Fortnite. The kids will love it. Can Peter just go back to being a man that has learned the lessons of his life and is a responsible adult? A guy with bad luck that just makes life work and fights crime because someone's got to. You know.
I've and you know the other thing that, and I've brought this up numerous times. If you've actually read One More Day, and you know that that's more Quesada than JMS. Like JMS basically
Yeah.
wanted, like that was plotted out by Quesada. JMS actually wanted his name taken off of
Yeah.
it. That thing is filled with a fucking Oedipus complex that's actually kind of nauseating. Like I'm not one to morally posture, but like for one thing, he chooses. I mean, it's his aunt, but really it's his mom. He chooses his mom over his wife. And I know you could say like, well, he wasn't choosing her life. You know, it was one woman's life on the line versus. I get that, but symbolically, he's choosing his mom over his wife. And to really nail that on the head, the end of One More Day, Peter wakes up and someone is calling him Tiger, and he goes downstairs and Aunt May is making him breakfast, calling him Tiger. Like that's fucking disgusting. I think we lost Liam there. But yeah, that's gross, man. One More Day is just outright Oedipus complex shit from Joe Quesada. Like that's a hill I'll die on. One More Day is the story of how Joe Quesada wants to fuck his mom. That's what it is, and it's just completely ruined the fucking franchise since then. Oh, there we go. We lost you for a bit.
Sorry.
I was talking about the Oedipus complex in One More Day.
Oh yeah, it's disgusting.
Like
It-
at the
it-
end
it
when
really
Aunt May
is.
calls him Tiger, she's making a breakfast like that. You couldn't be more on the head. Like One More Day is the story of Joe Quesada wants to fuck his mom. Oh, I think we lost you again. Oh, there you are.
No, I'm here. I'm just
Okay. But no,
disgusted and
and by the way,
stunned in
Joe
silence
Quesada, like
over-
every time people brought that up at like cons, he's like, "You people," don't... and then he'll say stuff like, "Oh, you know, you can't relate to being in a relationship with a woman," and I'm like, maybe you can't, Joe. Like,
yeah. I don't know, man.
I'm not
you wanna be with
married,
your mommy,
but
you wanna
I've
be with
had
your-
long-term
Joe,
relationships.
Joe, if you think that the most aspirational element of the everyday man is to be like, "Mommy, please," and fucking, you shouldn't be writing Spider-Man.
Well, look, I mean,
I'm just sorry.
sometimes I'll call my girlfriend mommy, but that's it. That's a separate thing. It's not literal, okay?
Yeah, it's not literal. Oh my god. Oh god.
But no,
I-
that's exactly
I
what
don't
it
know.
is. It's this Oedipus complex shit, and it regressed the character into just man-child shit. And there's been a few decent Spider-Man stories since One More Day. I like the first Spider-Verse,
Mhm.
that kind of stuff. But like, almost all of it would have worked just as well, if not better, with fucking
Without it.
Yeah, with
Look, it
MJ.
caused confusion, it caused problems. So, hi, I'm Norman Osborn. I'm Spider-Man's greatest enemy. I know who Peter Parker is. Takes like 10 feet to the left. No, I don't anymore. Takes 10 feet to the right. Now I do. Like, fucking, you're retarded. You've wrecked everything. Like, everything's a mess. Everything's a fucking retarded mess. It just. I don't want to talk about shit's like 20 years old at this point or whatever, but like,
God, it sadly is.
you know,
It's about 15, I guess. It was '08, so it's more
yeah.
than 15. God damn. You know, they tried that. Making Ben Reilly Spider-Man was them trying to do that back in the 90s. We got to go back to single Spider-Man. And, you know, everybody, at the moment, like, there were a lot of people that held on for some nonsense in the Clone Saga, but the moment they were like, no, Ben's the real one, a lot of people jumped fucking ship. And Marvel realized it. And, I mean, Ben wasn't Spider-Man for 2 months before you can see in the books they were already planting the seeds to reverse that shit. And that shit was done after a year. A calendar year of our time. You know what I mean? Not a year in Marvel Universe where time goes slower. No, like, Ben Reilly was Spider-Man in 1996. And 1996 only. Like, and then we're like, okay, apparently we need to... But there was an arrogance on the part of Quesada. Sales were... There was a bump in sales because it was a jumping on point with Brand New Day. And then shit was dropping like a stone. And, you know, they brought in Venom and made Anti-Venom, and you'd get a little bit of a bump, and then shit just drops again. Meanwhile, the entire... look, after the crash in 95, 96, comics were in the shitter, sales-wise. But all through the 2000s, they were climbing back up. And both at Marvel and DC, and Spider-Man was climbing back up during JMS's run and shit like that. And then it dropped. Then it went back down. And by the way, Spider-Man went back down while the rest of Marvel was continuing to climb back up and recover from the... You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, specifically, that franchise took an ass whooping. And yeah, you bring on Superior Spider-Man and there'd be a bump in sales. You do your Spider-Verse shit and there'd be a bump in sales. But, you know, you do your Spider-Verse every fucking year now to ever diminishing returns. Like, it's not working. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, Ultimate Spider-Man is selling like fucking mad. Multiple printings, you know. And it isn't even like the Ultimate Universe in general is on fire right now. Yeah, those other books sell pretty good. Ultimate Spider-Man sells like mad. But
yeah. I'm just looking over it now as we sit here. It's on a little bit quiet. I was just looking over the Ultimate Spider-Man now. And, you know, it looks pretty good. It looks pretty good. There's something, though, that I feel is just like... I don't know. It's like... I feel like the colors are gone. You know, I kind of like the Stephen Butler style sort of Spider-Man. You know, I like the Bagley Spider-Man. I like the comics that are colorful. And I look at these new books and I just see these are all models in the first 3 pages here. That's fine. But it's like, I don't really love it, but it's like, it is what it is. But I feel like it's lost, like there's no color in the background. It's all like everything sort of like got this brown and blue gray wash over it.
I know what you're talking about. Marvel's colors, DC's this way too. There's a lot of, things are not as vibrant.
It's really bad. It's really bad. It's really bad in DC. This is the modern style. And I'm an old man. I'm an old geezer. You know what I mean? It's like, so Peter on page 6 of issue 1 of Ultimate Spider-Man is holding a coffee pot. I'm gonna go all Eminem here, but it's like he's holding a fucking coffee pot, pouring a coffee. Could you really not have just drawn that coffee pot? Is it really that hard to fucking draw a coffee pot? You had to put a photo of a coffee pot in there and put a filter on it? Why? Just draw a fucking coffee pot. It'd take you the same amount of time. Like,
I honestly think a lot of that is a stylish decision right now. I don't like it, but I don't even think it's laziness. I think that's just something people are trying to... It's a style people are trying to emulate right now.
Yeah, it's a style thing that they're doing right now. They're sort of copying it off manga, but it's like, you know, I don't know. I don't like it. That's my personal preference.
I've adored Ultimates is pretty good. I didn't read Ultimate X-Men because it's like, I don't read an X-Men book
I
because
like their Jonah, man. I like Jonah.
oh yeah,
Jonah,
Jonah's
they
great in
drew
it.
him.
Um,
He looks like he's carved out of fucking stone, and Peter looks great too. Peter looks like he would look like
Peter looks
he's
like a
older.
fucking man. And again, that's
Yeah,
what it gets
yeah.
down to with me. I'm
I
so sick of
love the I
Spider
love
Boy.
the fucking yeah, I love the Dick Tracy style, fucking what do they call it? Like the overcoat, I fucking that's cool. It suits him. You got Ben Parker, who, I love when they introduce all these old characters that we barely get to see anymore.
Somebody says Quesada's a mama's boy. He did decent X-Men stuff in the 90s. I liked Quesada's art on that Daredevil run he did with Kevin Smith. I mean, Quesada's a decent artist. Uh,
Mhm.
but yeah, I mean, Quesada did a lot of good at Marvel too. I credit where it's due. Quesada did a lot of good at Marvel.
Mhm.
A lot of ideas. I mean, the Max line was initially his idea. The Marvel Knights line
Mhm.
was his idea. He's had a lot of good ideas at Marvel. He's had some terrible ones. One More Day is the worst thing he's ever done. He also put the
Yeah,
kibosh
and
on crossovers at Marvel. Like no Marvel DC crossovers anymore because he thought they were boring because for whatever reason. He almost squashed JLA Avengers. Um,
Mhm.
and I guess cooler heads prevailed and said, "Are you fucking out of your mind?" Kurt Busiek and George Perez are making a fucking Magnus open here. Like, leave him alone.
yeah, exactly.
Um, but yeah,
Let George Perez do it. If George Perez comes in and says, it's too late now, but it's like if he comes in and says, I want to draw a fucking, like a Wasp book, you know what I mean? You say, yes, sir. Yes, sir. like,
I will
like
contend.
whatever he makes will be great.
I will contend that George Perez is the single greatest comic book artist that has ever
Yes,
lived. And I'm
I
going to
agree.
say
I agree.
worldwide. You take the European
Yeah.
comic market, the Japanese comic market, no one touches Perez.
George Perez is the core identity of the superhero. Like when I think of superheroes, no matter what brand or franchise, I always imagine them in his style. A part of me kind of thought when I was a teenager and I had a more of a JRJR style, that sort of mix of JRJR Bagley, that's sort of how I drew. I thought like, hey, should I just train myself to draw exactly like George Perez? I wish I did. I wish I spent all that time just learning how to ape his art style and copy it because I don't see much that can stand up to it. And like his big sprawls full of like heroes, like and villains, these big shots that you see, um, no one really does them anymore, and no one does them on his scale,
One of the
it's
closest guys, and I don't think he's on the level, but one of the closest guys that's really good at doing a big splash page of a whole lot of shit going on is Freddie Williams second, he did the artwork for the 3 out of 4 of the Batman Turtles crossovers. He did the artwork for the He-Man Thundercats crossover. He's currently doing the artwork for the Turtles He-Man crossover. He jokingly calls himself on his Twitter bio the crossover guy. Um, but he's really good at that kind of shit. Of just a big splash page of a whole bunch of big epic battle with like 100 fucking characters. But he's not Perez. I mean, I love the guy to death. I'm always excited to see his art on something. He ain't Perez. Like I
yeah.
remember getting Avengers #1 Volume 3. Like I remember because I picked up I wasn't following the Heroes Reborn shit because it was shit. Um, and back then I was a teenager. Money was tight. You know what I mean? I can only get certain books. I was getting basically Spider-Man and Thunderbolts, and that was it. But then along come Heroes Reborn: The Return, and Spider-Man and Thunderbolts are both guest starring in it. So I picked that up, and that sucked me into starting Volume 3 of Fantastic Four, Captain America, Iron Man, and Avengers. And Avengers is the one I stuck with, and for a long ass time. And that was because primarily George Perez's art. I'd never seen art that fucking good in comics. Like I was blown away from issue 1, from the wraparound cover to issue 1 of Volume 3, with
Mhm.
like every currently living and active Avenger on that fucking cover. Like holy shit! That
Oh, I
guy
like
is
that. I do, dude. I like that. Like,
he's
so
amazing.
in issue 2 of Ultimates, right? Page 5, they're looking at Spider-Man on the iPad and stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And his son is like, it's CGI or Photoshop or whatever. I like that angle. The idea of a superhero that's like just dismissed as like an urban legend, like a fraud because of like AI and Photoshop and everything. They just like, yeah, there's no guy out there saving the world because it's just Photoshop.
That kind of,
I
a
like
lot of
that.
Batman continuities will go with initially that he's an urban legend, and that would kind of be
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And
that would be a
I
cool
like
angle to
that.
add to that.
It would be, yeah, it really would. That there's no fucking Batman. It's just people with the
There
AI
ain't
filters and
no
shit.
bat.
Yeah, it's clever. But yeah, no, that was just in the that was introduced here in Ultimate Spider-Man 2, and clever, clever, clever. I will say. Yeah, good
Like I
thinking.
said,
I love the way they draw that Jonah, man. This Jonah looks like a really good Jonah. Like this is, like his face is right. He's just the right age. It works. It works. I see a lot of people try and draw, old Jolly Jonah, and they don't get him. They don't do him right. They over exaggerate him, or they make him too cartoonish. They don't like he comes off looking like a bargain bin fucking Hitler. This guy looks good here. You're right. I like this is I'm really looking forward to sitting down and reading all of these now. This is who's the writer on Ultimate Spider-Man?
I want to say it's Hickman. Off the top of my head, I'm not sure, but I want to say it was Hickman. He's kind of a big deal writer right now.
Yeah.
And
Peter looks badass, man. Like Peter looks good with a beard. Like his hair, the way they've done it. Like Peter looks awesome.
one of the things I remember arguing with EVS on Twitter, and I mean it's easy to butt heads with him because he can be a guy that likes to butt heads. But I was kind of arguing like he was talking about his legendary Green Lantern run, and I'm like, look, man, your art was great, but that was Jeff Jones's legendary Green Lantern run. You were there, and.
Yeah.
What I bring that up to say, like, something I noticed, like, the 90s were the age of the superstar artists, but, like, the 2000s were, that decade in particular, was the superstar writer time. That's actually a time in comics where I remember it was writers that were the, like, the artwork in New Avengers was great, but everyone called that Bendis' Avengers book. You know what I mean? Like,
it's interesting the way that the 90s had their superstar breakout artists that changed the face of the industry, and then Image happened, and the big two got so fucking shit scared that would ever happen again that they just sort of stood on all their talent, and they really fucking downplayed them. They stopped doing interviews as often with them in the books. They sort of
that might have been a big reason why the writers became the big. But I remember in the 2000s, like the names everyone was talking about, like if you were at comic stores, if you were on comic forums, people were talking about Mark Miller. They were talking about Bendis. They were talking about Kirkman. You know what I mean? They were talking about Jeff Jones. Like those were the names who like people would be like, oh shit, Mark Miller's writing a book. I'm there. I don't even care about the premise. Like whatever. Those were names and I don't remember a lot of breakout big artists from the 2000s that became, names that sold books. You know what I mean? Like there were great artists in the 2000s. I remember a lot of great art, but like I don't remember that being what was driving stuff, for better or worse. But I do think that was almost a reaction to the 90s. The 90s became a time of, everybody cared about the art and the writing took this back seat, and I feel like the 2000s sort of flipped that.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. There was definitely some revolution, and to this day, there's tension between artists and writers because of it, which is difficult. Difficult to navigate. It's a pain in the ass. Oh man, I'm loving this. Well, this Ultimate Spider-Man, dude. Like I'm fucking. Yeah, this is great. This is from I'm getting the same vibes I got from Redemption and shit, which I always talk about. I love it. It's one of my favorite Spider-Man stories. It's got that same feel with the sort of the rugged Peter. You got you got a bit of the heartfelt stuff. You got some of the cool imagery. I like this stuff with the city and the webs and and just Spider-Man and no, this is gonna be rad. This is it is rad, There's a lot of brushwork here. There's a lot of shortcuts being taken. It is being drawn like a modern comic, but You know, it's a modern comic. That's what it is. You
I
know.
mean, that said though, it looks
Well,
good. I think it looks good. The
I
colors
can
aren't
work.
as
This is the
saturated as
thing,
I'd
man.
like, but I
We
mean,
bring it back to Jim Lee, man. I When Jim Lee was around, I was like, I got to draw like Jim Lee if I ever want to get a job in comics, and I couldn't do it because I was like a teenager. I had no art teacher. I had no one to sort of help me out. And I was just trying to figure it all out by copying and learning, and I couldn't do it. I could do this. Like, this is such a step back that, like, I'm not a biggest fan of my own artwork, but like, I could draw Ultimate Spider-Man. I could make this book. I could make books of this quality
and you
just
know
right
what?
now as me.
There's the original Ultimate Spider-Man with Bagley. One of the issues,
Mhm.
one of the single issues that sticks out in my head was number 13 when he, and they're teenagers and they're up in Peter's room, but him and MJ, and he tells her he's Spider-Man, and she initially laughs at him, and he walks up the wall. You know what I mean? There's there's a couple of panels I remember in there that are reused. Like there's a back and forth between him and her where like the same drawing of her face is used like 3 times, and
Yeah.
it's not something you initially notice when you're because it doesn't it's not obvious. You know what I mean? Unless you're
Yeah.
like trying to nitpick it, but like there's a lot of times when people cut corners. There's that famous joke in Invincible, and they even adapted it kind of to the animated
Yes,
series.
yes, yes,
But where
yes.
the artist is like, well, sometimes I got to save time, so I'll just like use the same art in another panel. And as they're going back and forth, he's like, do people notice that? Usually not. And it's literally like the same face of both of them in every
Right.
panel.
Yeah. Yeah. Great.
And I think they
Yeah.
reuse that too in the like
Yeah, they
sometimes
did. They
sometimes
did.
animators got to reuse stuff in the background over and over again, and you see like the same guy walk by or something behind him over and
We
over
can't
again.
be far off. We can't be far off having the new season of Invincible out too. It's
Oh,
got to
they
be
just dropped a
on the way.
trailer for it yesterday, I think. So
Wow.
I didn't watch the trailer because it's like I've already read Invincible. I know what's coming. I don't have to worry about that. But I'm glad to see a superhero cartoon that that is not made for kids. It's is just trying to be
Yeah.
faithful to
Here's the
not
thing,
everything
kids aren't
needs to be
dumb.
live action.
Yeah, not everything needs to be live action. Not everything needs to be super gritty, and not everything needs to be it's, I was thinking about this with Wizard of Oz. Okay, so I haven't seen Wicked. Everyone's been going on Wicked, Wicked, Wicked. Where I don't fucking care. I love the books of the Wizard of Oz, and the best adaptation of the books that I have seen was the old 1986 anime, Wonderful Wizard of Oz, and it fully adapts narration captions from the narration segments from the book itself as sort of voiceover work throughout the story, which I thought was good. But every single fucking adaptation of Wizard of the Oz, going back to the very first one in Technicolor, have all been adaptations of the Oz story. So with major, major changes to the characters, the cast, the everything that happens. I mean, like, the whole overall storyline. And I read the first 5 books just the other day while I was sort of decompressing, and I thought, why can't we just adapt the books? Like, why can't someone just take what's in this book and animate it or illustrate it? Like, why do you have to change it or reinvent it or make something and it's not like, why can't we have movies that are just proper adaptations of these things? Everyone's got rule. Oh, we can't do this. It won't work for television. It won't work for movies. Why not? Why
Well,
not?
part of the problem with Wizard
Minor
of
changes.
Oz,
What?
I mean, they did that Return to Oz at Disney in the 80s
Yeah.
where they tried to be more true to the books, and a lot of people didn't like it because it wasn't more in line with the 39 movie, which is
Mhm.
what
Yeah.
everybody unfortunately what everybody wants, I would argue.
Yeah.
Um
And I mean, there's no, you're not wrong for liking that. That's what you want to like and shit. I liked Return of Oz too. I grew up, it's one of my childhood films I grew up with. But I just thought there's so much in the actual book that, like, like, okay, so the Wicked Witch of the West, a lot of people don't know this. Like, the Wicked Witch, she first sends, before she sends the monkeys and all this other shit, the first thing she does is she's like, yeah, well, they're gonna come and kill me. They're on a quest to come and kill me, so I'm just gonna send a bunch of wolves at these motherfuckers. So she just sends a swarm of fucking wolves, and Dorothy's asleep, and the Tin Man murders the wolves, like just cleaves them to pieces with such skill and proficiency that he doesn't even wake Dorothy. And I'm like, that's never been shown. like that's never been shown. Then when that doesn't work, she's like, holy shit, the Tin Man just butchered all of those fucking butchered all those wolves. All right, well, I'll uh I'll send a swarm of bees, after them, and they will sting them all to death. And so the Scarecrow comes up with the brilliant plan of disemboweling himself, right? And covering everyone in his straw so that everyone except the Tin Man is hidden under straw, and then the bees show up and they sting the Tin Man, and it doesn't do shit because he's made out of fucking tin, and all the bees die because they only get one sting each, and then they move on to their next thing, and then when the fucking then they just sort of sew him back together and go on their way. Never been adapted to film. That's a pretty clever idea, you know. And then they continue on, and the next encounter, oh sorry, the second encounter before the bees actually is the crows. They send crows after them, a big swarm of crows to peck out their eyes, and you'd think, oh yeah, the Scarecrow like scares them away or whatever. Nah, what he does is he just starts jumping up and grabbing them out of the air and snapping their necks. He just breaks all their fucking necks. And it's like, that's cool. Never seen it. Never been adapted to the silver screen or animation or anything like that. And there's a ton of stuff like that. And I just think, like, why hasn't any of this stuff ever been properly adapted? Like, this is the great American fairy tale, and it's never been faithfully adapted. Um, and it's just, everyone goes about how there's no female representation, there's no heroes, no female heroes, and all this shit. Dorothy is like over 100 years old. She's a part of American culture, and she's arguably like, what, American Sun Wukong. It's basically Journey to the fucking West, except with a young girl from Kansas. And I'm just like, why has that never? Why is that story never been told in 100 years? When Oz has like hundreds of adaptations to film and TV, like why does no one just? Why is there no just filmed audiobook of this? It makes no sense to me.
I don't know. I know Wicked. Women are going nuts for Wicked. I know that much.
Yeah, but Wicked is like fucking like, oh, the two evil witches went to school together and they were best friends, and yeah, I know.
I
I'm not even gonna watch it.
I saw Red One in the theater a couple weeks ago because someone sent me a big super chat to do it, and it wasn't nearly as bad as I heard. It was a fine, goofy, The Rock Save Santa Christmas movie. But when I was there, Wicked had just come out, and the place was full of chicks. And this was like late on a Sunday night, and the place was full of chicks like cosplaying while they're going to see Wicked. I'm like, this is like Girl Avengers. Like, I don't know where this came from, but
that's a great analogy, man. You're correct. It's Girl Avengers, Buddy Smith in the chat says, if they try adapting Ozma of Oz, they'll try to go with the trans allegory that they would push onto one character in it, which is true. Now, the thing that really sort of, I know we're getting a little bit off comics here, but I just, bear with me. The thing is, the story, I don't know if you know the full story or not, Chris, but essentially what happens is, there's this young boy called Tip. Is that his name? Pip? Something like that. I can't remember. I read it just the other day. I should know. And he's like a young poor boy. And it turns out in the end that he was really Ozma, Princess of Oz, the whole time, that had been magically cursed into being a boy. And he managed to find out who his true identity is. And he thinks, oh, I'm not sure if I want to go and become the Princess of Oz. I sort of like who I am. But then he decides, well, if I turn into Ozma and I decide that I liked being Pip better, then I'll just turn back into being Pip with my magic. He turns into Ozma, gets all his memories and everything back, becomes the most beautiful little girl in the land, sets right everything, defeats all the evil, and never goes back to being Pip ever again in any of the books, because just likes being Oz better. And you see all these people that are like, "Hey, that's about being trans and all of this." I'm like, no, it's not. It's about being cursed to be someone that you're not, and not knowing whether it's better. Like it's a story about a curse. It's not like symbolic of trans, rights or any of that silliness. Like it very much, and people can say, oh, you can interpret that way, but the author expressly said, right, I didn't use any elements of romance or love or anything. Everything's like very platonic, paternal love, like that's what it's meant to be. Nothing's romance. There's no sex or anything in any of his books. Like that's not the point. That's not what he wanted. He has paragraphs written on this, right? And now you've got this modern movement of the LGBT community, and they're trying to sort of own Oz and put their fingerprint on Oz and make it about sexualization. I'm like, they're saying that there's a romance between Ozma and Dorothy, and it was literally they're just meant to be best friends. They're just best friends, and now they're trying to make it a romance. And I'm like, not only are you guys trying to make this into a romance, uh, more importantly, these are underage children. This is Dorothy is a child, Ozma is a small little girl, and you're trying to make them out that they're lesbians.
Yeah, they're not even
and
teenagers.
That this is
no, they're like 8 or something like that.
Dorothy, because she's from Kansas, is a well-grown girl, as in she's a more developed for her age, but she's fucking like a child, a little child, right? Like she's not even a teenager. Like it doesn't matter. But it just drives me up the fucking wall because it's like these people come in and they take something that literally the author said this is meant to be pure children's entertainment. He's got all of these fucking essays and things he's written in the front of the books about how he feels like stories should just be fun and magical, and he was trying to get away from the European style of grim fairy tales where like it's all really dark and gritty and it can scare the children or the scandal of sexual affairs. He wants to get away from all of that and just have fun little wholesome stories. That's all they're meant to be. And you got people accusing it of being racist, and you got people saying that it's all just, LGBT propaganda. And I'm just like, it's the American fairy tale. Why? It's like, I'm rambling. I'm sorry, Chris. It just annoys me a lot.
Oh, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Like, people projecting things that are not in something onto it to make it their own, to make it into something that it's not, when most people don't even really know the full stuff, don't know better, But yeah, anyway.
So you're saying that scene in Wicked where the two witches 69'd each other, that shouldn't have been in there?
Shouldn't have been in there, nah. No.
I don't think that happens in the movie.
Right. Do you know that the actual Wicked Witch? No, of course it didn't. Do you know that the actual Wicked, Witch of the West looked like instead of imagining like a green lady in a witch outfit, which I think is an improvement, to be honest. What she actually looked like was an old lady with multiple pigtails in her hair, an eye patch because she had one telescopic eye that could see miles and miles away.
That's kind of cool.
And yeah, and she was sort of dressed like a pirate in a little bit of a way, and basically, she the reason that she was like after the ruby slippers and shit is because the monkeys obeyed her because she had this golden cap that allowed her to control them for 3 wishes. And when she used those wishes, she'd need a new magic source, a new power source, essentially. So she wanted to get those silver slippers off Dorothy, which had been given to her, because in the books, they're silver, not ruby. And basically, so the whole time is her going after them. And the flying monkeys, they've got a whole interesting story, too, where it's like the flying monkeys were just fucking around like flying monkeys you would imagine them to do, and they dropped this prince into a lake and laughed at him, and his girlfriend got so pissed. He sort of said, it is what it is, and sort of thought that'd be the end of it, but his girlfriend, the princess, got so pissed got so fucking pissed. She was like, no, capture these monkeys, tie their wings, and throw them in the lake. And the husband, the prince, said, oh, well, hold on. If you tie their wings and dump them in the lake, they'll drown. That's a bit much. That's a bit much. That's a bit much. How about we just curse them instead? So he cursed their entire race to obey. They have to grant 3 wishes to whoever has the golden cap. That's the whole thing, and that's how the witch got the cap and has the monkeys. I mean, it's a lot of fun little stories in Oz. It's just yeah, rambling about stuff. You guys want to hear about fucking the reason shit Doctor Doom can do and Galactus? I'm here talking about fucking little fucking witches and flying monkeys.
Half my audience doesn't even care about comics. They just bunch of weebs that read their Japanese cartoons like nerds.
Yeah. You know, I really like the I really like a lot of manga and stuff that works as well. Like it's good that we've got like all of this different stuff, but
I always play it up. I don't really hate that much manga. I don't like weebs. I like weebs just annoy the fuck out of me. So I'm always like,
what annoys me is I've got these motherfuckers that are coming to my. I posted a tweet right now, right? I posted it yesterday because I just saw it off my Facebook, right? And in it, it's a picture. You've seen Ninja Scroll, right? Mm-hmm. You've seen. Yeah, okay. So it's a picture of the big stone guy, and he's holding the ninja's arms, you know, right before he drinks the blood, and it says, "This 1993 anime is completely disturbing. It is known as one of the most controversial animes of the 90s due to its extreme violence and gore." So I posted that, and somewhere someone's seen this, I guess, and they've talked about it, and I've triggered a whole bunch of people. And now I'm being told the Ninja Scroll is the greatest thing ever, and there was never any controversy around it. And I'm like, motherfucker, I was doing anime before you were shitting in your diapers. I haven't said that, but that's how I feel. I'm like, there fucking was too controversy all around fucking Ninja Scroll, and I like Ninja Scroll. I didn't say it was bad. Nothing that I said there is bad. It's not even my fucking meme. I was just going, look, it's Ninja Scroll. There was nothing else like it at the time. Guys drinking blood, chicks poisoning themselves and having their titties sucked on. Fucking everyone. It wasn't even called anime back then. It was called Jap animation. You know what I mean? So like it was like the heavy metal teenage rebellion, and everyone was like, "Oh, anime is bad. It's foreign. These foreigners."
So you know, I like to troll weebs online, where they'll post a picture from a manga, and I'll purposely read it backwards. Like I'll read it like it's an American. So like somebody will be like putting a reply where it's like, I don't know what manga it's from, but the girl, and maybe it's an edit, but the girl is like saying this shit is so ass in 2 different bubbles, and I'll just type below it, is so ass this shit is, like that kind of thing. And they'll get so mad. They'll be like, no, you read it the other way because it's manga. And I'll be like, I'll read it the other way when Japan has its flag on the moon. Like I go full on ugly, obnoxious American about it. I'm like, no, make them print it the right way. Like I love doing that to weebs. It makes them so fucking mad. No, yeah. You got because sometimes they'll think I just don't know, and they're like I've never heard of manga, yeah. And they'll be like, no, actually, you read it this way, and I'm like, no, I don't, because I'm an American.
Oh, dude, I'm literally
nerd.
In a Slack room. Well, I'm not anymore. I guess I still am, but he's not there. But I'm in a Slack room with Akira Toriyama and a whole bunch of other actual big mangaka, right? Like, I work with the Japanese. One of my gigs is I'm working for the Japanese doing some stuff, right? Which I'll reveal later.
He's planning on sinking a boat outside Hawaii.
And I've got these motherfuckers coming out telling me that, like, lecturing me about, manga and this and that. And I'm like, the thing that drives me up the fucking wall with the weebs, right? Is it's like their weird culture where it's like the Japanese look down on them because, like, to the Japanese the word manga means comic, and they've got this idea
nerd
that, like,
reading cartoons to them.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, you know, they're like, oh no, it's this sacred art form that's like separate to all of this. I'm like, motherfuckers, half these guys are using superhero reference in their books these days. Like, you have a bunch of these artists are drawing superheroes. A bunch of these guys read Western comics, and when they're released in Japan, it's a Superman manga, guys. It doesn't mean that it's changed at all. It can be the same book printed there, and they sell it as manga. Like, it's just ridiculous. And these people act like it's fucking some weird refined cultural thing where it's like, oh, it's separate and all of this. I'm like, yeah, there's some stylistic changes, but like the professionals think you're idiots. Like the people that, I'm working with literally told me I don't need to change the words I'm using, because I was like, what word do I use to, because I didn't want to offend anyone, because that's with everyone acting the way they were. I had assumed that it was like a cultural taboo, and they literally laughed about it, and it was like literally like, no, that's silliness. It's the same thing.
A lot of weebs will complain now about localization, right? That's their big thing. And
Yeah.
look, a lot of it is politically driven and it's shit, but a lot of localization leads to cool shit. You get Sonic hanging out with Princess Sally. You get Mario was born in Brooklyn shit. You get the Power Rangers. Like, that's the entire result of, no, we're just going to change the fuck out of this. And act like, no, you have to respect their original intent. And I'm like, meanwhile, when Japan gets a hold of an American thing, they're just like, yeah, Spider-Man gets in a big robot and he has a machine gun.
Yeah.
Because they're just like having fun with shit. And they're like, we like a Spider-Man. He have a big robot. Like, they don't care. They're just having goofy fun with it.
It's like my little brother gives me shit about not watching subs. He's like, you used to be cool, you used to watch subs, now you don't watch subs. I'm like, I'm too fucking busy. I read books and I write and I'm fucking stream. I can't sit there and I can sit there and watch a show and write at the same time. But I can't sit there, read subtitles and write at the same time. I can't do it. I'm a human being. And it's like, just give me a dub. And these people act like dubs are blasphemy. How about instead of acting like dubs are blasphemy, just ask for better dubs?
You just make a better one.
What, and to this day, I tell you what, Angel Cop. I don't know if you've ever seen Angel Cop. If you haven't, you must. It is the best fucking dub, and it is nothing like the original. In the original manga, they're fighting the Jews that are controlling the banks. And in the dub, because they're like, oh, we can't do this, this is super anti-Semitic. In the dub, they change it all up, and now they're saying fuck every 2 or 3 words and fighting communists. And I tell ya, Angel Cop is the best anime dub ever made. If there is a funnier anime than Angel Cop, I've not fucking seen it. It's great. It's just like 6 OVAs, and it's just full of hilarious shit. It's so American, anti-communist, and that's all. And it's dubbed in Britain. They're like, all right, let's dub this over so we can actually release it. Yeah.
So, like, again, a lot of weebs to me. You ever see Gaijin Goomba on YouTube?
Yes.
Okay, so, like, this guy is, like, there comes a point when you're so fascinated by another culture, it gets a little cucky. Like, you have no interest in your own. You know what I mean? And that's actually where the term gaijin comes from. It's kind of like a derisive term. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? So, I actually remember a video.
Like otaku. Do you know the origin of the word otaku?
Yeah, that's kind of like it's a derisive term too. It's like, grow the fuck up.
But do you know where it comes from?
No.
Do you know where it comes from? It's the name of a convicted serial killer cannibal who was a crazy, insane fan, right? It's like calling someone a Bundy. You're a Bundy, So, like fucking.
I remember when Logan Paul had that thing in like the Japanese suicide forest. Which, by the way, if you have a suicide forest, maybe you need to revamp your culture just a touch. That said, though, Logan Paul, being his typical obnoxious self, goes over there and makes an ass of himself. And it's like, okay, Logan Paul's an ass, and he always has been. But I remember Gaijin Goomba had a video response to this. And, normally he has his little cartoon Goomba. No, this is serious. He goes on camera, and he cries about it. And I'm sitting here like, this is the gayest shit in the world. Where you're sitting there, oh, I can't believe Logan Paul would dishonor glorious Nippon here. And it's like, fucking shut up. So that is why I like to dunk on weebs. Because a lot of them just kind of remind me of that, and I'm like, come on, it's just, what are
Yeah.
you doing here?
It's like, here's the thing, like, it's cool to like, it's cool to like love something and love Japan. I love Japan. I'm looking forward to going there, and I've got some great working relationships. I've met some really wonderful people. I mean, I prefer working with Japanese artists to Western artists because like the culture's so different. Like, I feel like when I'm working with Japanese artists, the fucking when I say, hey, I would like this, they would say, yes, sir, away, and I get it back. And it's like where I'm working with Western artists, it's like I would like this and this. And then like they're claiming that I've underpaid them and that I've raped 100 dogs and that it's like, okay, then why, like, fucking what, like, just can I please have my work and just shut up? It's like, they're crying they're hard done by and shit, and it's like fucking, I've had so many fucking people I've had to shit can from the West because you just can't fucking work with these people. They're fucking divas. And when there's nothing to be upset about, they'll make shit to be upset about. They'll make distractions for themselves and shit. It's like I'll sit there and I'll talk to someone and they'll be like, "Oh yeah, I'm so fucking I'm so burned out from work and everything." And I'll be like, "Oh cool. All right, take a couple of days break or whatever." And then like 3 days later they go, "Oh yeah, this is a manga I've been working on in the background or a comic I've been working on in the background." And it's like, so while you've been working for me and failing to meet deadlines, you've produced 20 pages of a book for yourself for free that you're going to make no money on. Like, fucking, just get fucked. What am I paying you for? Like, what the fuck am I paying you idiots for? Like fucking, just do what you're. If I had my way to only work with Japanese artists, because so far of the 6 Japanese artists that I've worked with, I can just give them a script and then they'll do it. And I barely even need to correct their shit. I don't need to fuck around with stuff. And when I say, hey, you're going to have to redo this page, they go, yes, sir. And they go and they do it within 24 hours.
And then they take the sword and jam it right there. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, not yet.
William's like, no, it's fine. Just redo.
Just redo the page.
It's like the old John Belushi Samurai Taylor stuff.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, no. But
he's trying to take the pen.
Yeah, take the pen. Yeah, the quill.
Like, no, it's not that big a deal. Well, it's fine.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, look, that's a lot of, and I hate to say it, but it's a lot of the Comicsgate scene that you're in. That's why you're going to deal with a lot of that, because a lot of these are. I mean, there's a lot of Comicsgate that is selling absolutely no steak and entirely sizzle. Like, and there's a lot of drama. I mean, that's why Comicsgate has been marked by infighting from minute one. Like, I think we lost Liam.
Oh, I'm back,
yeah,
but I just found out that I'm on a top 10 list.
But yeah, that's why Comicsgate was marked by infighting from minute one. I remember initially in it, everyone turned on Vox Day for some reason. I don't remember why, but everyone's like, no, you're not part of this anymore. And he was one of the first guys that actually got shit out on time. I didn't like it, but he got it out on time. Like, but yeah, that whole group. Yeah. So yeah, I believe that you've had to deal with all that kind of shit because that's entirely what that scene is that you're stuck in.
It's not just Comicsgate, man. It's fucking outside of it. It's just Western artists are fucking. My God, seriously?
You should try hiring Dan Mora because that guy apparently does 2 monthly books now.
Well, yeah. I mean, how am I going to hire that guy?
I know. I'm just kidding.
Big two.
Like,
you know what I mean?
I'm always impressed when an artist manages to like consistently do 2 monthly books. Because everything I've heard is that's like I remember Mark Bagley in interviews saying that when like Amazing Spider-Man went to like every 2 weeks, he's like, I hated life. Like he quit Thunderbolts when Ultimate Spider-Man started because he's like, I'm not doing 2 books again. That's a nightmare.
Dude, Warlock Magazine just voted me top 8 writer.
Oh, that's
top
awesome.
8 writer in independent comics. Yeah, I just found out just now. That's fucking great. I'm right behind Brian Pulido.
Yeah, that's pretty nice.
Yeah. Good-o. Good-o.
Warlock magazine. Is that what is that? What is that? I'm not familiar with that.
I have no idea. I don't know.
I'm
I
wondering if
just
that's
found
like a
out.
comic magazine. I miss Wizard.
I think that it's a Wizard. Let me have a look over here. They've
I
got a little blue
miss
check mark.
I
next to
miss
it.
Wizard so bad. When I was in
Warlock.
high school, I was getting
Green
comics
Spear.
obviously, but I had a subscription to both Maxim and Wizard.
It looks like it's a. I think it's a. I think it might be just Comicsgate. I'm not seeing anything that's not Comicsgate here in the rankings. Top 10 shows and entertainers. Yeah, right. No, cool. Still, I'm taking it. Uh, Voted in the straw polls. Okay. Brad, sorry, this is they're just a magazine. Apparently, they got 2 volumes out. I'll have to buy this. I'll have to.
Well, I think I'm going to go
contact
ahead and
them
wrap
and-
this up because we've gone on for over.
Yeah,
an
wrap it
hour.
up. Sorry, man.
No,
And,
you're
and
fine.
we'll have this sorted out by if not next week, we might not do a show next week because I think I'm out of town. I think I'm in town instead of out in the country. But I might be able to. I'll know soon.
No problem. But
It's
look,
that,
guys,
it's
normally we do
Christmas.
this over on Liam's channel. He was just having some technical difficulties. But if you want to check us out
Yeah.
over there. And if you like my show, and I don't know why you would because it's dog shit. But if you do like my show, you should hit the paypal.me/thebechtloff, streamlabs.com/thebechtloff. Send a donation when I'm not live. I'll see it when I am live. And I'll go ahead and add my wish list down below if you want to buy me some stuff for Christmas. That'd be cool too. And
You gotta buy him a Christmas present, guys. Otherwise, he's just gonna get fucking cold. You heard what he's like
I
this
know,
whole stream. He's just
I
gonna
know,
get.
man. It's just
So it's up to you guys to get him something
Santa's
nice.
like, look,
Get him
man,
something.
I know what you've been up to. All right, I just,
Mhm.
and let's see what
He
else.
doesn't even put ribbons on your fucking. He doesn't even put ribbons on your presents anymore because he knows you use them to type your lady.
That is
So
true.
Yeah.
I'm not going to deny that. What the hell else was I going to say? I don't fucking remember now.
you were closing out and I fucked it up.
But yeah, down below links where you can give me all sorts of money. Give me all the money. I want all the money.
We're pro capitalism here, like Rick Sanchez,
And
except without
Liam's
the
channel
culture.
is Unintelligent Design. You can find that on YouTube.
That's me.
And
That's me.
What's your Twitter handle?
Conquest_manga. Check me out there. You can sort of keep up on everything, And thanks for watching, you guys. I know we got a bunch of newbies in the chat that I don't usually hang out with, but you like Ninja Scroll, you got good taste, and you can think for yourselves. And those are the best kind of viewers. So come over to my fucking channel. I could use some brain power. Yeah.
And also, I'm not allowed on Twitter because I'm too spicy, but my good buddy Andrew Banner is on there, books_Andy. And that's about it for tonight, folks.